What becomes of war after war ends? After the last shots fired? After the last bombs dropped? What becomes of the people that try so hard to move on? Because for them, war never really ends. It silently lingers in rice fields, playgrounds, villages, ready to claim more innocent victims. The Vietnam War, lasting almost 20 years from 1955 to 1975, the war did not solely impact Vietnam itself. Neighboring countries were also deeply affected, caught in the crossfire of a conflict not their own. They stood as silent witnesses to a brutal dance of power. War. Who really wins? What is the cost of victory? It's been 50 years since the US withdrew from the Vietnam War, but there will still be more victims, more casualties, more pain and suffering. Because for the people of Laos, Cambodia and Vietnam, war never really ended. They are just barely surviving peace. Sometimes it starts with a nightmare to realize peace. Sometimes that nightmare just never seems to end. Sometimes the most peaceful places hide the most tragic scars. There's something magical about the countryside of Southeast Asia. The hustle and bustle of everyday life melts away, replaced with a tranquil rhythm that can only be described as a deep breath in and a slow exhale. It's places where time stands still, where people live harmoniously with nature and nature gives back. Life is simple. It's been that way for generations. The view from above shows just how seemingly untouched this hamlet in northern Laos is. But it's what you cannot see that has shattered the lives of people in this remote village. This small community is as remote as it comes. No road access, just boats. Past limestone rock formations, picturesque mountains. No electricity, far away from modern amenities that have consumed life. A decade ago, it was just another ordinary day. A little past noon, young boys do what they usually do, playing, throwing around a small round object they found. Intrigued, they tried to cut it open with a knife. A few strikes, then an earth-shaking explosion.
Boom! Boom!
That sound echoes still, even to this day, haunting memories and dreams of every single soul in this small village. It was here where the bomb exploded. Pure ran over to pick up her grandson, her body numb, her world stood still. Lifting up his injured small body, she carried him to a boat, 3 hours to the nearest hospital. But it was too late. 3 lives lost. One was her grandson, just 5 years old. The older generation here lived through it, lived through the war. They believed it ended. They moved on. But that fateful day in August 2013 reminds them that war never really ended, and they are just surviving peace.
สร้างความที่ว่าเป็นกำพร้ากำพร้อยนำลูกหลานตายจากพ่อแม่ตายจากลูกหลานย้อนลูกระเบิดอย่างนี้เห็นให้ไทยเฮานี่เกิดอย่างนี้สร้างความกระวนกระวายสร้างความ จิตใจบ่ทุนเทียนย้อนคนหายของลูกระเบิดนี้มาสร้างเสียหายให้แก่พ่อแม่ประชาชนก็คือครอบครัวที่ถูกกระทบ
A sentiment felt throughout this mysterious, tiny, landlocked country of Laos. War's toolbox lingers silently in rice fields, school playgrounds, villages and countryside, ready to claim more victims. More innocent victims, innocent in every sense of the word. The Vietnam War was a costly and divisive conflict that pitted the communist government of North Vietnam against South Vietnam and its main ally, the United States. Laos, a landlocked country located on Vietnam's western border, became a key supply route for North Vietnamese forces, leading to bombing campaigns by the United States. America was never at war with Laos. Officially, it was a neutral country. But as war was raging in neighboring Vietnam between 1964 and 1973, the Americans threw more than 500,000 missions over this country, dropping more bombs here than on Germany and Japan in all of World War II combined. More than 2.5 million tons of bombs. That's one bomb every 8 minutes, 24 hours a day, for 9 years straight.
Lao PDR was subjected to a very heavy bombing campaign. And over those years, it is estimated that more than 2 million tons of bombs were dropped on the country. We know that still to this day, all 18 provinces of Lao PDR are contaminated.
What happened here, perhaps in the pursuit of freedom, of democratic Western values, resonates still, half a century later. 30% of Laos is contaminated with unexploded ordnance, or UXOs, the bombs that failed to explode. They silently wait to continue to do the job that a military mind designed them to do.
That they started from 1996, we clear about 1% of UXO contaminated.
Only 1% of Laos has been cleared from UXOs.
This is based on the national statistics.
So you still have a very long way to go.
Yeah, a long way to go. So still many years.
Sot was lucky. He survived, just barely. They say the body keeps a record of trauma and pain, but few would understand what this would feel like, not knowing your children's faces, to live every day without sight, without a limb, with little hope.
ความทรมานนี่ก็สุดยอดแล้วเนาะตาบ่เห็นนี่ซ้ำกับตายนี่แหละไปทางลือก็เอาลูกเป็นได้จูงไปเป็นตาไปจังซั่นเนาะทรมานสุดเลยความตัวนี้นะสุดบ่มีหยังเปรียบเทียบแล้วความทรมาน
And for the Laotians that lived through the war 50 years ago, the world was a cruel, unforgiving, dark place. A place where children grew up, barely seeing the sun. Deep within the northeastern region of Laos, beneath tree-covered limestone, lies an extensive network of over 480 caves. The cold and sunless caves were a refuge for over 20,000 Laotians, hiding from the constant bombing raids. In the dark recesses, encased in limestone, they listened for the distant, low-rolling thunder of B-52s that foreshadowed the coming storms. When the bombs fell, they were indiscriminate.
เพราะว่าเพิ่นกำหนดให้1ต้นทีมใส่1คนเพราะหวังจะดับศูนย์ประชาชนประเทศลาวนี่ทั้งหมดเลยถือว่าเป็นการทุนแรงหลายในประวัติศาสตร์
Despite the ongoing bombing, the Laotians were able to carve out a living within. Each cave had its unique characteristics and functions, from bunkers to hospitals, schools, offices, banks, bakeries, sewing factories, and theatres. These chambers made up a city. To provide a constant supply of food for the community, Farmers risk their lives to work in their fields in the wee hours of the morning.
เฮ็ดนาในยามกลางคืนในยามที่ว่าเป็นเดือนเพ็ญเนาะเพิ่นจะอาศัยในการเฮ็ดนาในยามกลางคืนประชาชนก็แบบว่าเอามาส่งให้เนาะ
In 1969, a bomb exploded in front of the Red Prince's cave. The prince turned the crater into a heart-shaped pond. Structures built after the war complemented the battered physical landscape.
The UXO problems, one of the main activities that impact to the national socio-economic development. They spend time to wait to clearance before they using the land. That's why this also impact to the livelihood development in Laos, especially in the rural areas where mainly contaminated by UXO classification.
If you overlay US bombing records with a map of the country, the hardest hit areas, Siêng Khoang and parts of the southern border of Vietnam, remain the most economically deprived. Without UXO clearance, development is stalled.
So the end of the war was 50 years ago, and there's been a lot of progress on UXO work. But it's clearly not enough. We need more resources and more effort. But it's clearly a priority to accelerate the UXO work in this country so that we can make Laos a much better place for future generations.
A country blessed with the most majestic natural beauty. But a country cursed with unseen dangers, riddled with explosives, whose trail of destruction weaves through the mighty Mekong River into Cambodia. Threats don't only exist under the ground, but it's also underwater. Here, the problem gets more complicated still. Removing UXOs from underwater is far more dangerous than on land. Even trickier still to raise UXOs from the rivers as opposed to the sea.
This year, we start operation this year from March 2022 until now. Yeah. We cover 268 hectares. From March 2022 until now, we recover all 13,000 of munition, more than 13,000.
We are with a group of divers, some of the toughest deminers in the country. They are part of a program run by the Cambodian Mine Action Center that worked to transform this group of volunteers from barely competent swimmers to a tactical team capable of conducting military-grade salvage operations. They train to dive blindly into the water that is black just 6 feet below the surface, identifying explosives by touch alone.
ก่อนหน้านี้เราว่ายน้ำเป็นปะ
ว่ายน้ำเป็นนิดหน่อยถึงมาเข้าทีมงานไดวิ่งนี้ฝึกไอ้ดำน้ำหาระเบิดใต้น้ำเราเป็นคนกัมพูชาแคนเบเดียใช่ไหมมีระเบิดอยู่ใต้น้ำเยอะถ้าไม่ใช่เราเป็นใคร
Piriak dives in. He adjusts his mask and gear, steadies his breathing, and slowly begins his descent into the depths of the Mekong. Visibility in this river is roughly 20 centimeters. Piriak can see nothing, a condition known in diving circles as black water. Down there, it's a lonely world of swirling sediment and the sound of one's own breathing. Working meticulously, methodically, cautiously, because after all, this is a matter of life and death. Within a matter of minutes, Piriak resurfaces. His catch is astounding. The dangers of tampering with explosive devices that have been dormant for 40, 50 years elude no one. Because if a device goes off beneath the surface, shock waves would travel faster than the speed of sound and can kill instantly anybody in this area. Same goes for the explosive devices on this boat. And the fact that this is all taking place under the water, where there's almost no visibility, strong currents, so many unforeseen elements that make missions like this even more dangerous. With a boatload full of explosives, we make our way back to shore. Satisfied with the day's catch, it would soon dawn on us that this was merely just a drop in the ocean. What you see here, this stockpile of UXOs, is just from the past 10 days. 10 days of diving in one location. 10 days of what the divers amassed.
So our government see under the water one of the important, not just for security matter, but also for the transportation matter, economic growth. You need to provide good safety to build up a good confidence for the transportation line on the river itself.
No country in the world relies on their lakes and rivers to the extent that Cambodia does. Close to 50% of the population work in fishing and related activities. The presence of UXOs in this country poses a great risk. Fishermen regularly catch ordnance in their nets. Forced into action by their limited economic means, most would dive down to cut the nets free. This is done with no training and at great personal risk.
ហ្នឹងក៏ខ្ញុំមករស់នៅកន្លែងហ្នឹងគឺគ្រាប់នៅទៅហ្នឹងឃើញច្រើនដែរតែដល់បងសំណាញ់អូសអួនជាកោះជាប៉ះប៉ុន្តែមិនហ៊ានយកឡើងគោកទេចេះតែក្បត់ចៅក្នុងទន្លេវិញទៅមិនហ៊ានយកមកឡើងគោកទេខ្លាចក្មេងលេងដល់អញ្ចឹងចេះតែក្បត់ទៅមិនដឹងវាទៅណាមកណាដល់ឥឡូវអូសក៏មិនសូវជួបមិនសូវឃើញដែរហ្នឹងដល់ខ្ញុំរករាល់ថ្ងៃរាល់តែខែដែរហ្នឹងប៉ុន្តែគាត់ថាវា
According to a report by the Cambodian Mine Action and Victim Assistance Authority, over 64,000 casualties have been recorded since 1979 to 2015. Of these, almost 20,000 people were killed, around 36,000 people injured, and close to 9,000 people had to undergo amputations. And it's at Gien Kliang National Rehabilitation Centre in Phnom Penh, where the human toll from remnants of war is most obvious. Muang Sok San has been a patient here for over 20 years. Like many patients here, he is a landmine victim, in a country that experts say has the highest ratio of amputees per capita in the world. He was farming when he heard a loud bang. He blacked out. When he regained consciousness, his hearing had temporarily gone and his right foot lost forever. Today, he's being fitted for a new prosthetic leg. And an outdoor gymnasium, patients take turns to walk between handrails to get used to their new prosthetic legs. Inside the workshop, wheelchairs, walkers, and custom-fitted prosthetic body parts are also constructed here, using simple yet innovative and effective methods.
នៅពេលដែលគាត់ចាប់ផ្ដើមមានវិការភាពហើយគាត់មកជួបពួកខ្ញុំនឹងយើងមើលទៅគាត់នឹងគឺគាត់អ្វីៗក្នុងខ្លួនគាត់ដូចបាត់អស់លីងតែម្ដងក្នុងគាត់ណាអញ្ចឹងគាត់ដូចយើងមើលទៅគាត់គិតថាខ្លួនគាត់នឹងរស់នៅតែម្នាក់ឯងឯកោអញ្ចឹងតែឯងហើយមានគេមើងងាយនៅតាមសហគមន៍ថាអីចឹងមានគេរើសអើងពីមួយគាត់អញ្ចឹងប៉ុន្តែមកដល់មជ្ឈមណ្ឌលយើងនេះយើងលើកទឹកចិត្តបាទលើកទឹកចិត្តគាត់ថាឲ្យគាត់កុំអស់សង្ឃឹមយើងនឹងផ្ដល់អវយវៈបរមិត្តឲ្យគាត់អាចដើរបានអាចទៅធ្វើសកម្មភាពផ្សេងៗបានអាចទៅបង្កើតមុខរបរអាចទៅចិញ្ចឹមសត្វចំណីបាន អញ្ចឹងអារម្មណ៍របស់គាត់ក៏ធូរស្រាលមកខ្លះដែរបាទសឹងតែ 60% កាលណាបើសិនយើងគ្មានការផ្ដល់សេវាជូនគាត់ទេគឺក្រុមគ្រួសាររបស់គាត់ធ្លាក់ចុះកូនចៅហូបចុកមិនបានគ្រប់គ្រាន់ទៅរកសាលារៀនក៏មិនបានខ្ពស់ដូចគេ
Although the war has ended, this centre's work continues because there will be more victims, more injuries, more pain and suffering.
We know that the U.S. bombed in Cambodia more than 2.8 million tons, and we believe that those bombs, roughly around 30% remain active. So I believe that it's still many generations to come, not just in Cambodia. In Laos, in Vietnam will be the same. So we have to live with it for many years to come.
The Vietnam War was fought between the communist Northern Vietnamese forces and United States-backed Southern Vietnamese forces. We traveled to Quang Tri, an agricultural province that straddles the old demilitarized zone, which once divided North and South Vietnam, the center of much of the collateral damage. Perhaps no other part of the country suffered more grievously during the Vietnam War. More than 58,000 US soldiers died, and according to the Vietnamese government, around 3.1 million Vietnamese civilians and soldiers were killed in the conflict. It was here where a fierce battle raged, a battle that would become a turning point in history. A startling 40% of all the ordnance used during the war was deployed in this one province. Today, the dust has settled, the smoke has lifted, and life has moved on, but it wasn't going to be easy. Another battle is being fought that would uncover another deadly enemy. This battle is fought by women.
Quang Tri is one of the highest provinces that contaminated with unexploded ordnance, and it's very common when people, found explosive ordnance inside the schoolyard, in rice field, or when they are building the house. It's very normal.
Dio Ling leads Vietnam's first all-female mine clearance team, established in 2018 by Project Renew with the support of the Norwegian People's Aid. The women dot the once war-ravaged battlefield. Risking their lives, they venture into dangerous areas, armed with metal detectors and protective gear. Any step could trigger an explosion. Within minutes, a cluster munition is uncovered, buried only a few centimeters deep. Small, lethal, lying in the middle of a field where farmers cultivate their land. These cluster munitions were designed to open in mid-air, releasing a shower of bomblets over a large area. This one, along with all the others that littered this field, failed to detonate.
If I step on that, does that explode?
I think so, yes. Very low chance that it's not exploded. It's hard to tell, even for us who are working and, has been trained on this, we don't know when it's go off.
Dio Lin's team prepares to detonate the bomb. With a long fuse wire that runs about half a kilometer, well away from the detonation site, the team explodes the bomblet in a spectacular blast that erupts into a cloud of dust. Each bomb found signals a hard-fought victory. A victory not just on this battlefield, but also in reclaiming the safety and normalcy of life. The sudden tragedies that UXOs can unleash is something that all these women know all too well.
While most of the UXO victims are men, this also has an impact on the women, because when the men become UXO casualties, sometimes that leaves, the families to be headed by the women.
for Phan Thich Thu Ương, it's an all too familiar story. Her father's encounter with a UXO left him blind with multiple physical wounds.
Dạ thì sau khi chiến tranh kết thúc thì cái hậu quả của bom mìn để lại là rất là lớn, và đặc biệt là ở trong gia đình của tôi thì có người bố của tôi là trong lúc đi làm kinh tế mới thì đã bị cái vật liệu nổ đó là quả bom bi đã làm đi hư con mắt phải của bố tôi, và kể từ đó đến nay thì bố tôi cũng phải gánh chịu cái hậu quả của đó rất là lớn. Đó là cái động lực mà tôi tham gia vào cái đội rà phá bom mìn này.
But her team's efforts went beyond war's end, as younger generations are being educated about the dangers of UXOs, perpetuating the mission to keep their communities safe. At a school in Quang Tri Province, math, English and science are taught alongside UXO awareness. Most of the children here can name all the types of ordnance, bombs to grenades, from rockets to missiles, from landmines to M79s. It's become a life skill, like learning how to ride a bike or crossing the street. Something Ho Van Lai wishes he learnt in school. Around 2 decades ago, he, along with his 3 cousins, found an intriguing round object. Not knowing the dangers, they started hitting it. A violent explosion ensued, leaving 2 of his cousins dead and himself hospitalized as the explosion ripped through more than 80% of his body. Ho Van Lai is now a key staff member at Project Renew's Explosive Ordnance Risk Education Program. Losing 3 limbs and suffering from blindness, he is a living lesson, teaching children of the damage that UXOs can inflict.
Giảm thiểu số tai nạn bom mìn xuống là một điều rất là quan trọng để giúp mọi người là không còn bị cụt tay cụt chân do tai nạn bom mìn xảy ra.
Not every bomb or mine will be cleared. That's impossible. The goal isn't to remove every piece of ordnance, but to keep Vietnam safe, keep children safe through education. From Laos to Cambodia to Vietnam, from jungles, rivers to the rural countryside to burgeoning urban cities. These people, these countries, once weighed down by the burden of war, now find themselves facing tremendous challenges, rebuilding their lives, rebuilding their communities, their country. They try to piece together what was once whole. The scars of the past are not forgotten, nor will they ever be. Time is unlikely to heal all wounds. There will be perhaps new ones, and their stories will soon be replaced by those of others, also enduring agony, limbo, an infinite cycle endlessly fed with innocent new souls. But they try to find new purpose, something more meaningful than the destruction witnessed from half a century past, the deadly history of a US war, a war that still lies beneath the earth.